this 1975 BMW R90/6. We already did new shocks, checked the rear end, took it apart, new swing arm bearings, drive shaft boot, oil change, checked all the specs in the back. It looked pretty good. We did the front, fork seals, brakes, new gators, fresh fork oil, new steering stem bearings. And now, this is after we did the charging system, the electronic ignition, new battery, all that from EME Moto Electrics, I think. Rebuilt the carbs, all that's running great, but it's got an oil leak pretty bad from the push rods, from the push rod seals. So that's pretty much like, we got to put a center stand on it, but we're wrapping it up. So I'm going to try my best to film it as I take it apart, just in case anybody needs the visuals. I like to watch a video. I have a hard time reading and retaining, so try to make a video for everybody, and that's it. The first thing you're going to need to do is get a wrench for the exhaust clamps, the fins on them. You don't have to, but you should, because if you're grabbing it with big C-clamps and stuff, you can break some fins off. But first things first is get the exhaust off the bike. This is modified, but there's probably some mounts in the rear section. But you just take this, it fits over the fins. It's got a 1/2-inch drive knockout for a breaker bar, and just crack them loose. Alright, so after you've got the exhaust off, you want to get the carburetors off. So it's just these boots, fuel line if you still got it hooked up, throttle cables. Really, you can just disconnect it, disconnect the boots, and maybe move it to the side, not have to disconnect any of the cables or anything. The one thing I'll say about that, the exhaust clamps, the finned ones with that tool, I ended up having to give it some PB Blaster and some taps with a dead blow mallet. The steel failed before I got the nuts broke loose. The 1/2-inch drive, the 1/2-inch breaker bar actually spun inside the tool and marred the metal of the tool all up. But it worked pretty good. I just tapped it with a hammer and broke it loose a little bit at a time. Ended up heating up the clamps a little bit. Just had to be gentle. It's aluminum. You don't want to break the fins off. So I'd suggest getting the tool. After you've got the carburetors off, take the plugs out. The next thing you have to do is remove the rocker caps on both. There's two 10mm nuts between the second and third head fin. There's one here on the back side, and there's one here. You take those two off, you take this center nut off, take a soft-faced mallet and tap this if it's stuck, and just lay a piece of pig mat or something under there. There's probably a little bit of residual oil sitting in the top end. Center bolt is a 13mm. So now that you've got your rocker cover off, we need to get this cylinder to top dead center. Okay, so you've got the rocker cover off. You need to get the cylinder to top dead center. Top dead center is seen through this aperture in the window right here. It's on the flywheel. It doesn't say TDC, it says OT right here. So you need to find top dead center, and then you want to make sure both the rockers are loose. So now you're going to slacken these 6 cylinder nuts. And you're going to go 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A quarter turn at a time until they're all loose. And then you can remove them and put them to the side. You want to keep them organized exactly where they are. Keep the intake with the intake, the exhaust with the exhaust. Put everything exactly where it came from. Put it back the same way. So I have a piece of pig mat laid out. I like working with a clean piece of mat, and I can write on it and draw on it and make sure that everything's exactly where it's going to be. So again, quarter turn, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then when you put it back together, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so you've got all 6 nuts off. Well, these 4 are off, these 2 are hand tight. But anyway, you get them all off. Then you pull your rockers out. Keep note of any washers or cone washers or tabs or anything. Again, make sure you keep them organized exactly as they come off. Then you want to pull your push rods now. You want to make sure you keep exhaust with exhaust and also mark which end is in and which end is out. Okay, so you've got the push rods out, you've got all your nuts off. Now you want to pull the head off. Just gently take care of any washers falling. You want to pull it till they clear the studs. When it's apart, you can take a look at the valves. Once you've got the cylinder head off, you can just pull the cylinder back a little bit and get to the push rod seals right here. There is an orientation, they're offset, so just check it out when you come in, keep it in mind. They come in at, at a weird angle. So that's what's bad on this bike. They're dry, they're leaking a ton. See, this is all covered in oil. While you're in here, you're going to want to check your cylinder bore, check your pistons, check your valves. When you put it back together, definitely check your valve clearances. If anything's out of spec, I can't go over everything, but basically just get yourself a good manual and just read through and make sure everything's kosher and slap it back together. That's pretty much it. Yeah, that's really the only reason we're in here is the push rod seals. And I'm pretty confident that it's a healthy bike, but I'm still going to look everything over. So, one thing everybody says about these bikes, they always look at the cylinders like, man, what if you dropped it? Well, seems to be the case here. It's got some rash, and we actually already replaced the bowl on the carburetor on this bike because it was perpetually leaking. Thought it was the gasket, thought the clamp wasn't tight enough. Turns out there was a pinhole in the bottom where there was a dent. So you see these are a little rashed up, and it was pretty dirty inside. We got it cleaned up, and you can see on the inside, if it would focus, there's a crack there and a crack there. So this explains some of the oil that was all the way at the top of the cylinder, up by the head and the rocker cover. So the push rods and this. Crack. So, be treating it with, I don't think it needs to be welded. It's just a little hairline crack that's going to weep. I put some brake fluid in there, something thin, just to see if it would weep through. It took a little bit and it got a little wet. I'll probably get, I'll paint it with Glipdol, just like a red insulating paint. It's oil, it's okay in oil, and it'll seal these up. I do have to do it on a lot of the inside of a lot of old porous cases, so something to look for.